I left the country like January for study abroad, but like it's funny because I was able to go to Argentina before I was able to go to Mexico.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's like I can't go to back to Mexico and not be a tourist. Like I can't do that at this point.
Right.
I'm too old for that, and I couldn't go with my family members. Not really.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's from Juarez, Chihuahua, and she's traveled back and forth from Juarez, Chihuahua, instead of like from there to the U.S. often. So it's like she was also like a border child at the same time. I mean, she obviously was. Yeah. So it's like, and she spoke more Spanglish than I do. So it was kind of like, it's just really interesting to think about it in that sense, because I would love to go back to Mexico, but I'm not going to lie to myself and say, oh, I'm going to go back to reconnect with my people, because I can't. At that point, I just can't. And I also think that
brothers, sisters.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm not Mexican. I'm Mexican American.
Yeah.
I'm Latino. Like I feel like Latinxes right now have our own culture, and so for me, as someone who's so disconnected from like Mexico or from like even indigenous roots, like even more. So even though the organization has the name Aztlán in it, like we have always recalled or reclaimed indigenous roots. For me, it's not right, because I never grew up in an indigenous community. Like I didn't grow up with that sort of culture. I grew up being Latina. So
right, it is an actual culture, isn't it?
Yeah, geography and culture, and I'm starting more and more to accept. Okay, if I go back to Mexico, I'm not like Mexican. I'm Mexican American.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. It's such a rich culture as well. So I just gotta accept what I have and learn more about it.
But even the phrase "going back to Mexico" is inaccurate, because you're not going back there. You've never been there. I've never been. If the three of us went, we'd be tourists. We'd sit here with a map going, is that a church? What is that over there? You know, I mean, we'd be walking around just stupid, or with our little cell phones, like trying to, identify where we were going. And it's weird. It's weird that just that's all it takes is one generation, and you're like, not me. That's not where I come from.
But there's plenty of Latinos who go back and forth with Mexico all the time. They know where their family's from. They know their family's been here for generations. My mom doesn't know. Like, she knows her mom was from Chihuahua, and that's it. That's as far as she knows from her family. So, but it's very different for everyone.
It is, and I suppose the experience of what that is has been changing for every generation too, because when I was growing up, I was othered, but not in any aggressively, how can I put this? Not like in a negative, like I hate you sort of way. It was just more like, well, you're just different. I don't understand you. And we're working class, we're poor, so that didn't help either. So then you have wealth, so you never quite knew. At least I shouldn't say you. I never quite knew why I was different in this context. Like, was it because I didn't have the same clothes? Didn't talk the same? Didn't look the same? What was it? I just knew it was something. I could tell, I could feel it. But as time progresses, I'm sure it's more something you're more conscious of walking down the street than maybe I would be, because I grew up not having to deal with that sort of negative thing. And I'm fading as I get older. I used to be dark and have black hair and everything. Now I'm just kind of like washed out and sort of gray. But maybe I'm not so obvious when I walk down the street. It's not like, oh, that guy's, whatever. But I don't know. I think it's probably a really different experience for you growing up now in a time when there is active, oppression, and we just want you out. You should go away. According to the new administration, you don't belong here. Period. You just shouldn't be here. This is white America. It's for white people. That was invented by them. They created it or whatever. And so I don't know. It's strange. It's like it's a whole different experience. When I was younger, it was kind of cool to be different in a way. It was like, oh, hey, you're different. You're exotic. That was a word that I heard from people. Yeah. You're exotic. Let me mess with your hair, because it was curly hair. I'd really, believe it or not, I had hair, and it was really, really curly and very black. And so everybody, all in class, all girls wanted to comb it and stuff. I mean, and I was like, hey, okay, fine, that's fine. Attention is good, but that would have totally different connotations for people now, I think.
Definitely.
difference that's pointed out wasn't the same thing then as it is now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. It depends. Like, it depends on the day how I look at it. But the fact that it's like so open and out there right now could possibly be a good thing, because it's like you can't, because we need everyone to be aware. Like, we need people to form alliances and work together, and everyone, like basically everyone in the world who sorry, not the world, but well, yeah, also the world, because the U.S. administration has a lot of effect on the rest of the world. But also in the U.S. we have all these, and I'm bisexual, and I'm a woman, and I'm Latina, and I have family that are affected by the immigration policies, and it's just I see a lot of more solidarity being built just because it's so open and out there. But it's not like these systems of oppression haven't existed since the beginning of this country. This country has always been founded on the backs of Black and brown people, and so and so I think the fact that it's out there is possibly useful, and maybe that's just what I tell myself. But I think it definitely is a means to work together, to find, like, if you feel so desperate, like you want to reach out and maybe even like look at your own different privileges that we might have, like being lighter skinned, or because there is definitely colorism in our community, and anti-Blackness in our community, and homophobia in our community, and having to address that, I think, might be the only way we can actually reach some justice and equality, is by working together, by getting bigger numbers, by acknowledging our privilege and acknowledging that we're not perfect. Just because we're Latinos doesn't mean we know everyone's struggles, and we need to work on ourselves to be able to forge these communities and make them stronger, and we're able to fight. And I think if you're getting a piece of, like, how do you say, like a piece of the bread or a piece of like money, then you're content where you are. But if you aren't honestly feeling attacked, then you're gonna work with your neighbor that you thought you wouldn't work with before. So possibly, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and I agree to. I think I agree with you, because when I said that it meant something different back then, I was misspeaking. I don't think it meant anything different. I think it felt different because I didn't know what it meant. So, like I said, I went through most of my life not knowing why I was being, oh, we can't use you here. You're not what we're looking for. That kind of thing. I didn't know why. I just knew that it was. I knew that that's how I was treated, and I knew that when someone asked what I was, what are you? Are you Italian? What are you, Jewish? Or what are they're trying to guess? They're trying to get at this question. You're different, and I'm trying to figure out why. Yeah. And that's no less a bad thing. That was no less a bad thing then than it is now. It just, because I didn't read it as a bad thing, it didn't strike me as a bad thing. But it certainly messed with my mind and made me think, well, I guess I'm just weird. There's something weird about me, personally, as an individual, not as a member of a group or anything. It was just as a person, I was weird. So maybe it is easier to be able to go, well, look, I'm this, and this. Of course people are going to treat me differently. So, there you go. That's what it is. And you can just tell yourself that, and then am I right about that? I mean, is it easier to be able to go down your laundry list of differences and say, this is probably why I'm being othered in this instance, and then you can write it off and you're done with it? Or does it bother you just as much as it might have bothered me to have that same othering without being able to recognize it?
That's a really hard question.
Oh, sorry.
Because I just, like I said, I can only speak for myself and my experiences, and I've always read things like on a deeper level, not like a deeper level, but like referencing the history that I know, and I can't brush something off like it's not a big deal, because really your opinion on who I am is going to perpetuate this injustice against me and people like me, whatever identity that may be. And like I said, identities are very complicated. Just because you're Latino doesn't mean you know everything about everyone else's like marginalization. Right. So, and I can't answer that because I wasn't you. So I guess I can only say that.
You can't read my mind? I used to think that's a whole other thing. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say now. I do that a lot. I think like 20 different things, and then none of them actually make it out my mouth. That's very distracting. Anyway, we're not right at the end of the show, but we're well past the halfway mark. So I have this feeling like I've just been wandering around and dragging the conversation in strange ways. Because you're an organization on campus and you have goals and things that you're doing, I feel like I should give you an opportunity to talk about whatever is going on right now that you're working on or that you're involved in or that you think people need to know about. Do you have stuff like that you're just like, oh yes, we've got a fundraiser tomorrow and a thing next week and whatever? Are you doing something?
We're doing a lot.
Yeah, I know you're doing.
So
I mean, tell me about it, please.
So this week we're doing, like I said, Semana la Mujer.
Uh-huh.
So we're having events all through the week. We have our Facebook event up, or just go ahead and look at our Facebook page, MEChA de UIUC.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now we're doing a sign making workshop. It's the 10th anniversary, and so we're doing all about like resistance, as in like our existence is resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And so tomorrow we're doing a sexual health and pleasure workshop with one of my favorite professors in LS, David Glitch Sanchez, and we're doing a craft workshop on Thursday, and we're watching the show Brown Girls and talking about gentrification, because in the show, I haven't seen it yet, but I know there are it focuses on brown girls and like representation, but it doesn't really address the fact that it's in Pilsen. It doesn't really show many Latinos. And then Friday we're actually doing an open mic night here at the IMC.
Oh, cool.
From 6 to 8. And then we're gonna try, and then we're going to have, and then like I said, Black and Latino Women's Summit. It's open to the public. I think registration is still open, so just look up Black and Latino Women's Summit, and you'll find it. Women with an X. And then and then this Wednesday is going to be a rally from 12 to 1 on the quad. It's Coming Out of the Shadows. This is not an event we started or we planned, but it's something we're co-sponsoring and we're very proud to be a part of. As of right now, I don't think there's a Facebook event, but we'll keep updating the page. And then on April 17th to the 21st, we're having a week-long series of events again on the 1902 protests that happened on campus that started the Latino Studies Department and and moved La Casa into the actual old president's house of the university. So that was like a amazing moment in history. And so we're trying to right now we're still trying to bring some people who are part of that. So if anybody listening knows anything about that, feel free to contact us.
I probably know some people that were around back then.
Yeah, so we're going to have a different series of events, and we're ending it with an art gallery that's going to be open at La Casa. It should be that entire week. It'll be open at La Casa, and we're really just blowing up pictures that we're taking there, including a lot of police presence that was on campus, and we're showing the documentary and having a panel with LS professors, also probably releasing a sort of list of demands, or just so it's sort of a celebration, and we want to thank everyone who participated and everyone who supported since then, and everyone who's in LLS and La Casa today, making our experience so much better. So it's a celebration, but also saying, hey, this isn't enough, we're not done here.
No. How do you remember all that stuff? Are you impressed by that? I'm sitting there going, I could tell you probably a few of those things, but I wouldn't have been able to give you dates, or just like, well, we're doing some stuff this week.
I'm probably missing a lot more, but
that's amazing. How do you guys how do you make that happen? I have enough trouble getting people to do like one thing.
There's a lot of great dedicated people at MEChA.
Apparently so. I'm trying to think of how to harness you for some of our activities, because we're always looking for strong people to do things. It's amazingly hard to get people just, I don't know. For us, I mean, clearly it's not hard for you, because you guys just do it. I'm jealous. Did you notice that she said Zine?
Zine? Zine?
Yes, I always say Zine. I mean Zine.
That's what she
said.
Yeah.
I didn't know. The people say Zine?
Yeah,
So
like magazine.
Yeah, magazine.
Yeah. Is that just your own personal quirk, or did you hear it that way?
Because I read about it a lot, like before I heard anyone
Oh, it's
say
one
it,
of
so I'm
those
so
words.
used
Yeah.
to saying Zine
Zine, yeah.
instead of Zine.
Well, it makes perfect sense. It was interesting because she used to say it that way, and I had no idea what she was talking about. Zine, what is a Zine? I felt stupid, like I ought to know this, but I don't apparently. Yeah, okay, zine. So zine or Zine. I suppose there's an official way of saying that, isn't it? What? I said I suppose there's an official
It's supposed to be
correct
zine.
way. I think
It's supposed to be Zine, but so many people have messed it up that I think at this
Oh.
point,
It
most
does.
people don't care. I'm sure some purists do care, but
there's always somebody.
I'm gonna
that
mess up. So
cares. Well, no, I just thought that was interesting because the only other place I heard it was right there from Japan. So we have a off-camera mystery guest here, which you don't get to see, but you can hear very softly in the background if you want. A visitor from Japan.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Anyway, yeah. So, well, amazing. You're doing lots of stuff.
I want to add that I think it's important that to recognize that it's not anyone from the university necessarily like who's going to help us, who's helping us with these events and sort of educating us about the history of what happened here and how we got these programs. A lot of it is just us having to read our own history. It's not like they're going to tell us on the tour that this is what happened.
No,
you
they
know? The school's not going to tell us that. So I think that's very important to note that we're the ones spearheading this and having to find that information.
yeah, I would say they definitely don't want us to know. They don't want us. They're terrified of us realizing that hey, protesting works.
Yes. A while back, I was involved in a project. I forget how many years ago now. It was a long time ago. And we tried to document a lot of the history of uprisings and protests and things like that. We created a video that went with it. We created an archive. We tried to talk the administration into making it an official thing. I have no idea what they did with it, but I'd be willing to bet you'd have a hard time finding. I mean, we documented like the history of the KKK on campus, which I don't know if you know, they used to be a registered student organization here. They had their own chapter house and all that stuff. And so you know that you're hip to that. But
I remember it was posted in our group me exec chat room that's always like blowing up with a bunch of screenshots. That somebody, I forgot who, some historian said, oh, it was just a social organization. And it's like, there's no way you can be, and not a racist organization. There's no way you could have been Ku Klux Klan and not been a racist organization.
yeah, it was an official university. I forget what the position was, but like the official historian carefully studied it and came to the conclusion that it was a social organization that just happened to have the same name. And when they were taxed with having this name of this terrorist organization, they changed it to something else. And I think what they changed it to is they may still be around. I don't remember. I have all this somewhere. I mean, we've got all this stuff somewhere that we really did a lot of research on it. And, you know, it was frustrating to like try to get that out there and to just, it was like pushing a giant boulder uphill, you know. It was like we could get it, we could move it a few inches, and then if we even just stopped for a second, it just like came rolling back down at us. It was very, but you're right. I mean, they just will not tell you this stuff. This just part of the history, but
I think like one of the hardest things is like you were talking about how MEChA has been primarily run by women. I didn't know that. I didn't know
really?
the history of like my own MEChA chapter because it's really hard because we're students of writing things down. I think we need to be a lot better at that, writing things down and passing down the history, because I've learned so many things working with MEChA, and there's so many things that I wouldn't have learned without being at MEChA, but like I think I could have learned them better if we had a better mechanism of like record keeping, because we're this being an academic institution that's like the lifespan is 4 years of a person here usually.
yeah.
It's like we need to be a lot better about record keeping, so all the knowledge that we gain isn't just stuck with us when we graduate. Like we need to keep these connections alive, but even without those connections we need more record keeping, so we know, hey, this organization MEChA has been here for 12 years and I didn't know that. I had to research that somewhere else. So it's like I just think that's something that I think MEChA just in itself needs to be better at, and I think we need to kind of give ourselves some worth. Like, what I've learned here, what I've accomplished here, it's worth passing on to the next generation of students.
Yes, that's important. I think you're right, because every couple of years it's like reinventing the wheel. People come in, new people, they have ideas, they don't know where to go because, of course, like you said, the university's not going to tell them. So they have to discover these things on their own, and it's usually a year or two into their being here that they actually even figure out that you exist, and then they get involved, and then they graduate and they're gone. And it's just like, so it's just it's kind of just holding it together is a major achievement, much less moving things forward or making anything happen is really hard. I wish I was better with names. I'm really bad at histories like that too. But I know that I know a lot of people that know this stuff. That's a convoluted way of saying it. And if you want, I'll see if I can contact people and see if I can find where some of this information is stored. Because like I said, we made a whole video about this topic of the history of oppression at the University of Illinois and ways that people have resisted it and stuff. And it was, like won an award or something. And it's gone now. I don't know where it is. I probably have a copy of it somewhere on a DVD. But these things just have a way of going away. And I know people that were there at the protest that got that thing happening, and we actually documented part of that. That's in the video, as it shows the sit-in at the, what was it, the
Henry Administrative Building.
Yeah. And the police coming in and taking everybody out and all that. I mean, we've got video of that. You probably have that in your archives there too, though, right?
Yeah, the 32-minute documentary. We've tried to share it, and that was we didn't. It took us a while to even notice at the end. It's the IMC that helped produced it, and we're like, wow, we really need to look into that. And then I don't think we've talked to anyone about it yet, but I definitely won't forget now.
The IMC did that?
At the end of it, it was help produce. Yeah, something like it definitely had the Independent Media Center and 104.5 on there, and that was vital in us getting interesting because there's you anger people into action, and that's kind of what happened with this 1992. We realized that it was the anniversary, but we hadn't realized exactly what was going on, and watching that video was really helpful for us. So,
well, we'll stay in touch. We don't have to talk about this on the show right now. Let me talk to my friend, because I do have friends. I think I can remember at least one person that was in that sit-in and was there at the time and was doing that stuff. And I remember talking to him about that. I know I've interviewed people that were here at the time and did that back when we were doing this work, but that was a long time ago. Like I said, it probably was nearly the 90s. Maybe the early 2000s. Anyway, neither here nor there. Sorry, listener. We're just, I'm very scatterbrained at the best of times. So, a few more minutes left. Any other important points you want to make? Statements that you want to read to the world? Just this is my manifesto. This is your chance to get it out to the world. No, I didn't. You've got one. You're burning. You just want to say that.
I don't know. So there's so many different things. Yeah. Well, I wanted to touch back on something with identity and I know for me at least, growing up, I didn't look what a stereotypical Mexican was, and I still get that to this day. So a lot of people confuse me with being Asian or Indian, and I don't know if they mean Indian as in yeah. So I don't know.
I don't know that they know.
And I wonder too how being perceived as Asian versus Latina, how does that is there a privilege to looking at one way or the other, or I'm not too sure. But I think just being here is, I'm graduating soon. I'm not sure what my plans are, but I do hope to get my master's, and I know that's going to be challenging, that, even those spaces, because they're going to be more wider. They're probably not, just the spaces in general are not going to have people that look like me, who share my values. So it's always a struggle, for especially in the professional world too. I've done work in the nonprofit sector, and I can tell you even then, I think of these organizations, oh, they're doing good work, but some structure there that you don't see, like what's going on behind the curtains, is so very, there's a lot going on that I don't agree with. And even then I wonder, like, what do I do after school, after I'm done with, with everything? Where do I fit in? It's always a struggle, So.
Yeah, I can tell you as someone who's not involved in the academy that it's hard to maintain a sense of involvement in social justice or these kinds of issues once you're working a job and you got a mortgage and blah blah blah. You got all these things to do. It's actually, you have to intentionally force yourself to do it. It doesn't just happen. Like here, it's like, it's just right there, and your friends are doing it, and you go, oh, I'll just show up, and it's just a meeting, it's another meeting. I do like 50 of those a week anyway, so I'll just throw that onto my list, and it's kind of all there, sort of laid out for you and very neatly packaged. But once you get away from that, it's really hard to keep doing this stuff, and it's really easy to just sort of drift away and get into other things. So I hope you can. I hope you want to, because it's important work that needs to be done. And like you were saying a minute ago, that institutional memory goes away as soon as you graduate. You're gone, and you take it with you. And so the new people, they need the other people who've been around and know that stuff to say, well, do you know that back in 19 whatever we used to do this? And you're like, come on, Grandpa, I don't care about that. But it's important to have people who can keep sharing that stuff with you, so you can be those people once you move on.
And we hope to do more work outside of the university community, trying to work with high schoolers and just
that's good.
Get people involved. I think catching them when they're younger is always best. So
that's really good. And it's good because you're in a close enough age group that they can, like, oh, you're cool, I like you. If I go talk to high schoolers, they're just like, what does he want? It gets to be too big of a gap for a lot of, for a certain kind of understanding that's good to make. So I don't know. Anyway, we're very close to being out of time here. Let me put my glasses on so I can see. Oh, well, we have about 3 minutes. So event coming up next.
I'm gonna stick to one thing.
One event.
I just think that what I've learned recently, and especially with all the chaos that's been going on, and all the hatred, and it's all the sort of feeling frustrated and kind of hopeless and desperate, I think has made me really value MEChA even more, and the people I'm around. And I think I'm leaning more and more towards working with people who value my work and who can help me and who I can help sort of increase our knowledge and increase our strength. Because for me personally right now, fighting against X and Y and Z group that are hateful is just not something I think is productive right now. I think the best thing to do is focus on ourselves, improving ourselves, and building coalitions and solidarity. Even though we might not necessarily agree on everything, we can definitely work towards it. And I think that's, for me right now, I think that's what I want to dedicate my life to. Because and props to everyone who can deal with X and Y Z groups.
Oh, right.
But me right now, I just think I want to build those relationships for